In this video, I'll show you how to use Whisper AI for free to take files like this and automatically convert them to text using the command line. Now, the best part of all this is it's completely free and easy to get started with. And as you can see, it produces a super professional result and it outputs this in several files automatically. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right in. Hey, what's up? My name is Chris and welcome to Coding in Public. Well, I'm nothing if not a man of my word, and a couple days ago I mentioned that I wanted to do a video on this if I had enough interest. I asked for 100 people to like it, and there we go, 100 exactly, so let's do it. So I'm going to be walking through how to set this all up using OpenAI's Whisper technology. And again, this is completely free if you're just doing it locally on your machine. So you can walk through the paper, their approach. I honestly don't really understand a lot of this. I just wanted to get it up and running, and that's what I did. So we're going to do this in a few different steps. First of all, there are several things you need to install and make sure are working properly on your machine. While I'll mostly be talking about macOS since that's what I have, I will mention Windows alternatives for any steps where you need that. So let's go ahead and talk through. There's actually 6 things you need to make sure you do when you're installing everything to get it up and running, and then we'll talk about usage next. So out of the 6 things, the first thing you're going to do is make sure you have Python 3.10 or lower. Actually, not exactly or lower. It's between 3.99. Actually, no, it's between 3.8 and 3.10. So not the most recent Python. In fact, if I come over here and go to downloads, you're going to see that 3.11 is out, so 3.11 is out. You don't want that. You actually want this one right here. So you can just click into here, and it should give you a bunch of different options here. I chose this one and just installed it like a normal macOS installation. Now, along with that should come something called pip, but that's the second thing I would check on. And in fact, if you need to know if you have the proper version of Python installed, you can type Python 3, and Warp has already given me that autocomplete. So there we go. I've got the latest of 3.10, which is what you'd want. Now, like I mentioned, you also need to make sure you have pip installed. That should come installed with it automatically. It's essentially like NPM. It's a package manager. If you want to check if you have it or not, you can come over here and just grab it like this, and I'll add a link to all those things in the description. But here you can check on the version of pip just to make sure you've got it. And I do, so I'm good and ready to go. If you don't have it for whatever reason, you can type that exact same thing I just mentioned a second ago, except instead of a version, you can just type install. Or you can also do upgrade pip like that, and it will upgrade it if you need it to be upgraded. I'll go ahead and stop that because I don't. So there we go. So you need Python, number 1. Number 2, you need pip installed. Now, number 3, you're going to need to make sure you've installed the security commands. So let me open up my applications folder, and I'll show you how to do that. All right, so I've got my applications open, and ignore all the thousands of applications. I just play around with a lot of stuff. So here we go. We jump into Python 3.10, so 3.10. And what you want to do is make sure that you open this up using your terminal. So you can right click and let's see, in my case, I can open with and then choose any of the terminals I happen to have, like iTerm or Warp or whatever else. So just open that up. It will run it automatically. In fact, I'll just do it in the terminal app so you can see that. And here it is over here. It already ran. So it gives you permissions that basically updates it so that you can use everything you need to in the Python installation. That's my understanding. So that's thing number 3 is to install the security commands. All right, step 4, you need to install PyTorch, and you can do that by going to pytorch.org. And again, I'll have links to all these in the description. Just click on Get Started, and then you want to make sure you select Linux or Mac or Windows or whatever you have. In this case, I'm using pip for the package manager. Now, if these 2 options are available, basically choose the highest one available to you. In my case, my machine only allows me to do the default, so that's what I'm going to choose. Now, this actually will give you a command right here that you can run. If you're on Windows, it'll obviously look different. If you're on Mac, that'll look different as well. So just go ahead and grab this right here. You're going to want to install whatever this is. Now, I've got pip installed already, so now I can use it. So I'll just jump back over here, and all I have to do is type this in and install it. Now, it's already installed in my case, so I don't have to do that, but just to note that you do need that. Step number 5, you want to make sure that you install Homebrew or Chocolatey, because what you want to do is use these to install something called ffmpeg. So you can install Chocolatey. This is for Windows. You can install Homebrew, which is for Mac. You just run this right here, and then it will basically allow you to use the brew command or the choco command on Windows to install something. And in this case, what we want to install is something called ffmpeg. All right, and it's very popular. Here we go. It lets you work with audio essentially and converts it, records it, streams it. It works with video as well. So let's see, installation right here. So brew install ffmpeg. That's all you have to do for Mac. If I come over this way and I look for find a package, once you've got Chocolatey installed, ffmpeg should let you install that. And here we go, Choco install ffmpeg. Okay, so that's step number 5. Make sure you install that. And finally, step number 6, you actually do have to install Whisper AI. All right, so you can do that with this command right here. So if I come back over here, just make sure you've got this installed. Again, you're running Python 10. You have installed pip. You've got the security commands installed. I know you have to do that on Mac OS at least. On number 4, you've got to install PyTorch. Number 5, ffmpeg, which you might need Chocolatey or Homebrew for if you don't yet have those. And then finally, number 6, install Whisper AI. All right, so all of that out of the way, that is the installation. Now, one more note. They do mention in here that you may need to actually install the Rust tooling. So if you get a security or an installation problem, just check out this note right here. I did not need to do that, but just so you know, you may need to do that. And they actually walk you through, there's that Choco install and there's the brew install for the ffmpeg. Okay, so that being said, those are out of the way. Let's actually start to use it. You're going to see that there's a bunch of different language models here. By default, I think it uses small, if I remember correctly. So the very first time you install it, it's going to have to download a bunch of stuff to be able to do things. So just so you know, it might take a little bit of time the very first time. After that, you can actually tell it exactly which model you want. If you haven't used the model yet, it will download it. So again, it might take a little bit of time, but once you're using it, it should be good and set to go. Now you can see here that the speeds differ depending on basically how serious you're getting here. So on the tiny one, it's pretty fast. As you get all the way up here to large, it takes its sweet time. So just so you know, depending on the size of your file, this can take a while and depending on the speed and the quality of your computer. There's also some distinction depending on the language that you're translating from or transcribing, just so you know. Okay, so to actually use it, you just use the Whisper command with all those things installed. You pass it whatever files you want. It can be a single file or more, and then you can add additional flags beyond that. So let's start with the most basic and go from there. So if I come back over here, I can simply type Whisper, and I already did audio test. That's this right here, and I'm in this local directory. So I can go ahead and hit that, and it will go ahead and just use the normal default, which I think is small. I could be wrong there, and it will transcribe it. You'll get a readout in your console, and then it will actually save, by default, 5 different text files that correspond to the transcribed audio. You can see that it provides punctuation by default and breaks it out into sentences and which sections go with which seconds as you've been recording. And once again, it gives you 5 different files. So you'll get it in JSON, you'll get it as a plain text document, you also get it as an SRT document. That's for captions, so it's really good for accessibility because it ties the exact seconds to the words that were spoken. All right, now you may have seen a couple of different warnings here. Let's talk about this language one first. You'll notice that it did text language, and so it will figure out that this is English, and there are a bunch of different languages you can use. If I come back up here, okay, so you can actually give it a language so it knows what languages work. So let's first of all look at that language. So if I had to redo this command and say that the language is English, then it will basically skip that detecting section and just go straight into transcribing it. Now note here that it actually just overwrote all these files, so you just want to make sure that if you want to save like a previous version, you got to actually move those files. There's no way that I know of at least to change kind of how those output. It names it the exact same thing and just gives it the different extension depending on the kind of thing it is. Now you can also choose a different model, and I could do the same thing here, except all I have to do is say model, and in this case I could say medium. Now I have that one installed, so it shouldn't have to download it. Now when something as short as this, obviously it looks like the text here is pretty much the exact same as the text here. However, for longer things, it does help to use a higher model for the most part. I found medium is about the right approach. It does just take some time, so depending on the length of it, you may be fine using the default model. Now, for the most part, I've just been using this for my YouTube videos. I'll use it for this one. And if I do that, I usually just am concerned about the actual SRT file. So let me actually do this video test one. So let's go ahead and pull up that previous command, except I'll change out a couple things. So this is going to be, instead of audio test, it'll be video test. Now, because it's actually 2 separate words here, I need to surround this with quotation marks. And I can actually, if I want to, go ahead and add back in the audio test. You can do more than one file. So this one is fine. This one needs to be in quotation marks since it's got a space. I'll keep it English language, model, medium, that's fine. This case, I do want to actually just tell it I want just one format. I only need the SRT format. So dash and F and then just the name of the type of file you want. So if you also wanted like TXT, that would be fine as well. But let's say I just want the SRT. Now I can run both of these through the model. It will actually spit out the results for me and give me just an SRT file for both of them. All right, you may have already seen the problem that I did not see, which is that I forgot to change this to an MP4. So let's go ahead and change this MP4. Okay, let's run it again. There we go. So now I've got an SRT file for both the audio and the video. And just a note here, you see that I'm actually getting this user warning. This has something to do with my CPU, and honestly, I haven't cared enough to fix it because it just switches it to the right thing and moves on from there. But if you know how to do that, let me know. I looked around, couldn't find anything quickly, and it doesn't really bother me, so I just let it go. One other thing to mention, by default, you can transcribe, which is what we've been doing so far, and you can transcribe into whatever language you're using. However, you can translate. Unfortunately, you can only translate into English. So let me grab a sample file in another language and I'll be right back with you. All right, so I went ahead and grabbed a random Spanish file off Wikipedia. I'll have a link in the description if you want to see where I got it from, but I don't really know what it says, so hopefully this is okay. I'm going to go ahead and grab Whisper like this, and then we're going to name it Anna.ogg just to show you that it can be other files or besides like MP3s, waves, that kind of thing. So pretty much any audio or video format will work. And then I'm going to go ahead and detect that the language is Spanish just so it doesn't have to do that automatically. Okay, and then finally, let's go ahead and just have a format where I just want the text file back. So I'm just trying to show here that it can transcribe other languages other than English. So any of the ones it listed here, you can see it's giving perfect Spanish, I would guess. I'm not really sure what it says, so why don't we go ahead and translate it. Now, like I mentioned, you can only translate into English. Let me come back over this way and I'll just search for translate. There you go, so you can give it a different task. By default, it does transliterate, but you can also translate. Those are the two options for you. So let's come back over here. We'll do the same exact thing, except in this case, what I want this to do is give it a task, and the task is to translate. Like I said, right now you can only translate into English, so now we get to see whatever this file is, and I get to see if I need to choose a different file. Well, hey there, look at that. All right, so it looks like somebody who's born in Santiago of Chile in 1960, a writer and a poet. So how about that? Not a bad file to choose at random. I should mention if you ever get stuck with this, you can go to Whisper and just do --help. And this will give you all the different commands that you can use. So there you go. You got all these things. Looks like this might be the one I need. F16. So maybe we try this. Default true. Let's try the same thing, except we're going to do F16. I guess I just missed that. But you can see the other things here. The temperature, I'm not exactly sure what that does. Different tasks, again, you can only transcribe or translate. Languages, here are the different languages available to you. The different models you can use, again, if you need help, all that kind of stuff. So where was that one we found? Let's do this right here. And it looks like it is a true or false. So let's try it, and I'm guessing I just do false. So like this, and then we'll do F16, false maybe? Look at us fixing things while we're here. So now I don't have to see that ugly warning every single time. Glad we figured that out together. Hey, well, I hope that was helpful for you as you get started. I'm going to use it for all my YouTube videos just to give slightly better captions than I get on YouTube, and hopefully that will be more accessible for all those who watch. But again, it's free, and I wanted to share it with you. Hopefully it's a big help. I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Happy coding.